Hi there. Welcome to Bible Slash Chat. I just took a bite of a protein bar, which is as dry as these podcasts, guys. Brutal.
Dry as Masada.
It's dry as Masada. Well,
Take a
sorry,
drink.
I need some water. I was
Take a drink.
dying.
It's fine. I can tell.
You can tell we record these with a lot of forethought.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
That's just.
Anyway, just start it. A tablespoon of cinnamon. I'm dying. Okay, so I have a question for you. Speaking of like things that are uncomfortable and painful,
And dry.
Not so dry.
That's all right.
We sometimes people take texts and they apply them to themselves in
Yeah.
ways that might be unhelpful.
Yeah, very much.
And one of those texts that gets applied that way a lot is the story of Jesus calming the storm.
Yeah.
All right, in Mark chapter 4, starting in verse 35. Let me just read it.
Yeah.
And then I'll give you a potential interpretation. You tell me why it's bad hermeneutics. Correct my interpretation for me, okay?
Yeah.
Mark 4:35. On that day when evening came, he said to them, "Let us go over to the other side." Leaving the crowd, they took along with him in the boat, just as he was, and other boats were with him. And there arose a fierce gale of wind, and the waves were breaking over the boat, so much that the boat was already filling up. Jesus himself was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" And he got up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Hush, be still." And the wind died down, and it became perfectly calm. And he said to them, "Why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith?" And they became very much afraid and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" Okay, now, potential interpretation, right? It's tax day when we're recording this.
Yes.
I just paid my taxes. It feels like a storm in my life, right?
I can tell you're getting a big refund.
Yeah, no. So it feels stormy, and I'm like, oh, this is such a storm. I don't want my faith to be weak. God, just calm the storm in my life. Give me what I need. Just fix all the problems that are coming at me. And you did it for them, the disciples. Jesus did it for them. He said, "You have little faith. I want to have strong faith. Lord, I believe you can calm this storm of tax day in my life. I put this into you." Now, good application of that text, bad application of that text, and why?
Terrible application. I think that
terrible.
this passage is probably one of my biggest pet peeves that people use.
Yeah.
If not the biggest, because really, what this passage has nothing to do with tax day.
Okay.
It doesn't have anything to do with the storms in your life.
Right.
There's a literal storm here. Right?
There's actually a storm.
So there's actually a storm.
Would it work if I was in a storm?
If you were in a storm with Jesus asleep, yes. Then you would say, "Jesus, take the wheel."
yeah, literally. Okay, good. Okay, so there's a literal storm happening.
There's a literal storm happening. Remember what was going on here. Jesus is tired. He had taught, nonstop.
Yeah.
This shows his humanity. He's really tired. And he goes to sleep immediately as they're crossing to the other side.
Right.
And of course, the wind, the storm is there. And then they wake him up.
Right.
Jesus is so tired that he's not. I heard someone say that he was pretending to be asleep.
Oh, no.
Yes. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, bad hermeneutics.
Really bad.
Don't just insert that.
Yeah, he wasn't going like, I wonder if they're going to wake me up.
Yeah.
He wasn't pretending to be asleep. He actually was asleep. They wake him up and they tell him, "Hey, don't you care?
Yeah.
We're going to die here." So Jesus gets up and he just hushes the storm.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Hey, why were you afraid? Don't you have any faith?"
Yeah.
And then the punchline is they're like, "Who is this?"
Right.
The sentiment in the boat it wasn't that they were saying that, "Who's this? Who's this?"
Yeah.
One another.
They know each other.
The sentiment was, "Who is this?"
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, "Who is this? I don't know this guy."
Right.
The point is, Jesus is God.
Yeah.
He's in command of every situation, especially this storm. So the punchline for us is Jesus is sovereign over everything.
Totally.
He's not just sovereign over your little storm of tax day, April 15th. He's sovereign over the whole world. What's going on in Israel right now, right?
Right. Totally.
Sovereign over every little molecule, as R.C. Sproul says, are not a maverick molecule in the world.
Yeah.
Everything is sustained by Jesus.
Yeah.
So in this case, don't you think it's more glorious to see the passage for what it really says? It says Jesus is God.
Yeah.
He commands the whole, all the weather systems.
Yeah.
And if he does this, then the application could be, you know what? He's sovereign over your life.
Totally.
He's sovereign over tax day. He's sovereign over the illness that you're suffering right now. He's sovereign over everything that is going to happen from the day you were born to the day you're in glory.
Yeah.
He's sovereign over everything.
Which is super helpful because there's still tons of application.
Of course.
But that application then is now coming from the text as opposed to my interpretation of it. So God may say, so instead of saying, God, you can fix the storm in my life and calm it. You can get me past tax day without having to pay something, right? That's not actually the point. The point is the other way around. God brought me to tax day in His sovereignty to teach me good lessons about withholdings. Yeah. So like I'm actually receiving information through the pain that He's bringing into my life, and He's sovereign over that pain to bring that information to me for my good now.
Yeah. Well, and think about again how glorious it is to look at Jesus as a sovereign God. That is sovereign over everything, even the things that happen that I don't understand.
Totally.
I don't understand why we have to do this. And yet we know that the disciples were looking at each other thinking, this is a different person.
Yeah.
The sea and the winds obey him.
Yeah. So
we're not wondering who he is.
Yeah.
He is actually the Son of God.
Yeah.
He is God Himself.
And you do have to sometimes I think I read these passages so quickly, but imagine walking out in the middle of a rainstorm with a guy and he's like, shh, and everything is like, like that, and all of a sudden the sun. You'd be like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It says and I love verse 39. It says, the wind died down and it became perfectly calm.
Yeah.
I mean, that idea of these people were seasoned sailors.
Yeah.
They were fishermen. They knew how long it would take to become perfectly calm.
Totally.
And all of a sudden, within, like you said, a second,
This
guy.
Yeah. Who is this guy?
Everything becomes perfectly calm.
And so the whole point there is God is sovereign, not so much that, So then, what is there a term that we would use for this kind of interpretation? My original interpretation of the text.
Well, you would be spiritualizing the text.
Spiritualizing. Why do we call it that?
Because you're finding a hidden meaning, which is a spiritual meaning, to something that there is no spiritual meaning. There was a literal storm.
Yeah.
There was a literal Jesus sleeping on a literal cushion.
Yeah.
This is here. On the literal stern of the boat.
Yeah.
And literally he got out. He hushed the storm and he became literally perfectly calm.
Yeah. So that's where we would say there is in a sense the Spirit has a meaning for us.
Yeah.
But there's not this hidden secret meaning for me in the storms in my life. Yeah. And
there are a lot of examples of people taking that, and we can go through other examples, but there are people that well-meaning people.
Yeah.
That they're trying to see a passage and they're trying to look for this. They're trying to look for not a hidden meaning, but they try to think, okay, what does it mean to me right now? Yeah, this doesn't do anything for me right now.
Yeah. Totally.
Something needs to do something for me, which is sad because actually this does a lot
for us. Yeah, it does everything for us. Yeah,
right?
Totally.
Jesus is sovereign over everything, so I can pray to Him.
Totally.
I know He understands what I'm going through. And like you said, we're going through pain right now, and you're thinking, well, you know what? God knows.
Yeah.
And if He wants to, He can make it perfectly.
Yeah, He can fix
calm.
everything.
Yeah.
He can do whatever He wants right now.
Yeah.
And He has purposes for it.
Yeah.
So that I guess brings us back to that really important question. The way you just asked that is like so crucial. Instead of saying, what does this mean to me? Say, what does this mean?
Yeah.
And now, how does that apply to me?
Yeah, exactly.
Like that extra step in there. What was Mark's intention? And then how does Mark's intention then apply to me in this specific situation? Yeah, like that gets us away from things like, who is your Herod?
Yeah.
Who is your Goliath?
Yeah.
All those things that we get ourselves into trouble.
What is your Tower of Babel?
What is your Tower of Babel?
Yes.
I won't name her. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just joking.
Yikes.
Anyway, hope this is helpful for you. If you have questions
Take another
this,
bite of that.
Exactly. Never speak again. If you have questions on this or any other topic, you can always email us at info@faithbibleoc.org. Thanks so much.